Thank you so much to Spotify for sponsoring today's video. I know I said I wasn't going to do it. I said it literally in my last video. I was going to wait a while. I was gonna wait until spooky season. But we're doing it today, guys. We are going to be reading mystery thrillers for an entire week. I have never, ever done this on my channel, so your girl's a little scared. I'm a little sus, but we're gonna have fun with it. I'm super excited. One of my main goals for 2024, and I know we are very well into 2024, was to branch out a little bit more when it comes to reading, maybe jump into some mystery thrillers, because that's definitely a genre out of all of the genres and all of the books in the world I shy away from. I'm afraid of everything. Your girl is literally spooked by every little thing imaginable, so it's very rare that I pull out a mystery thriller and I'm like, okay, I want to read mystery thriller. I thought it'd be a really fun time to kind of jump into a few, just because we are in the month of September. We're slowly creeping in to the fall season, into spooky season. So I thought it'd be really fun to take you guys along with me and try and read some mystery thrillers this week. I actually have a couple that are on my September TBR, like The Silent Patient. We have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, which is definitely more on the YA side. It's not super spooky, and it's actually a reread. It's probably one of my favorite little mysteries I've ever read. But the other day when I was winding down looking for something to watch, I actually saw The Perfect Couple come up on my Netflix, and it's actually based on a book by Ellen Hilderbrand. This is an author I have heard such great things about, and I thought it'd be really fun to start today's video off with The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hilderbrand. And this book of hers is actually a murder mystery that takes place in Nantucket. Although it sounds a little spooky, your girl's very intrigued with it. It's basically wedding season in Nantucket, and a wedding is about to start, but a few hours prior, a body turns up on the beach, and everybody is kind of like, what the heck? And everybody in the bridal party immediately becomes a suspect. I already have my suspicions. In all seriousness though, I saw this pop up on Netflix and I was like, oh my gosh, I have seen so many great things about Ellen Hilderbrand, and that's kind of what sparked my idea for doing this video, because I think it'd be so fun to read her book and then maybe watch the show and compare the two and see which one I like more. That's what we're starting with in today's video. Again, it's not a genre I typically read, so I'm going into it with like totally fresh eyes and feelings. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and then I think what I'm gonna do to start off is I'm going to listen to the audiobook on Spotify, because if you watch previous videos of mine, you know that I've also been working on a book nook recently, and it turns out, guys, I have news on the book nook. I have updates. I actually picked out a book nook that is like a 4 out of 5 difficulty level, and that's why I've been having so much trouble with it. So I've slowly but surely been making my way through it, and I thought it'd be really fun to start off this cozy mystery thriller vlog by building a book nook. I already have the book queued up on my Spotify, so I'm gonna pull out my book nook, grab my headphones, and then we're gonna get cozy and start listening to our first mystery thriller. Okay guys, it's a little bit later now. I made it to chapter 8 of The Perfect Couple. Guys, I'm actually really hooked on this story. It is so crazy and so chaotic. Right in chapter 1, we're kind of just diving into the story, and the police find the body, and they're immediately going to the house where the bridal party is staying to investigate and question everybody. Absolutely wild, and literally the only reason why I stopped listening to it is because my headphones died. So I took it as the perfect opportunity to do a check-in with you guys. I'm actually listening to this audiobook on Spotify, which is the kind sponsor of today's video. video. Spotify has always been an essential for me because it's where I listen to my music, it's where I listen to my podcast, and now it's where I listen to all my audiobooks. Spotify is literally like your one-stop shop for everything, and it's honestly so cool. So Spotify recently launched audiobooks, and when I heard they were doing this, I got so excited. What I love about them is you can listen to a good book while doing other little things in life. Not to mention too, with Spotify audiobooks and premium, you can now access over 250,000 audiobooks as a master account holder. I also think audiobooks as a whole though are such a great opportunity for people who maybe want to get into reading, people who don't really have a lot of time to sit down with a book every day. You can listen to audiobooks in the car when maybe you're on your way to work. You can listen to them at the gym. I also am notorious for listening to audiobooks while I cook. I feel like it is the most relaxing and also exciting experience ever. I'll be in the kitchen dicing my garlic and bam, the enemies became lovers. So Spotify is now my favorite place to go when I want to listen to an audiobook. The Perfect Couple is included in premium along with so many other amazing titles. I genuinely feel like there is something for everyone. In all seriousness though, I could not recommend Spotify enough. I could not recommend getting a premium membership with them because you just get access to so many amazing features, so many amazing titles, songs, podcasts. Like I said, we made it to chapter 8 of The Perfect Couple. What I'm really enjoying about this so far is that we're jumping between time periods. So far it seems like every other chapter switches back and forth, and on Friday we've been jumping between different characters and what they basically did that Friday when the murder happened, and we've been seeing all the different interactions with the person who got murdered, which I think is really interesting. We've only made it to chapter 8, but I'm already kind of sus of a few characters. I feel like there's a few characters who are definitely a little fishy, guys. I don't necessarily know if they did it, but they're definitely hiding something. Like, they definitely know something. So the before chapters have been really interesting, and then the current time chapters take place on Saturday, and on Saturday we're getting the POVs of the detectives and them investigating, questioning everybody, trying to figure out what the heck happened the night before. And there's definitely already been a lot of characters who, let's just say, they're not doing the best with the questioning and the interrogation portion, so that's kind of what's leading me to being a little sus with them. But nonetheless though, I'm actually having a really great time with this. I don't read murder mysteries ever. I don't read mysteries. I don't read thrillers. This is actually kind of getting me though. What I think is so fun about branching out into different genres is I quite literally don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. I don't know if I'm gonna dislike it. I don't know enough about this genre and what I like and dislike about it. So I find that it's just always a lot of fun when I try new books out like this because it's kind of like a fresh slate and it's a lot of fun in my opinion. Reading a mystery thriller, a murder mystery in general is just so exciting, and I feel like it just keeps you on your toes the entire time. You're basically playing detective yourself while reading. You're trying to figure out who did what, why did they do it, when did they do it, how did they do it, and I just feel like that's the fun part when it comes to reading these types of books. And like I said, I'm already super into this one, so I'm really excited to see how it goes and what happens. So I built my book nook for about an hour and a half. We actually made a really decent dent in it. It's been taking a girl a while, but when I pick it up I find that I've been making like significant progress, which is really nice. We worked on my book nook for a little bit. The vibes were immaculate. I actually did a deep clean of our entire apartment a few days ago. I basically went through and kind of prepared it for fall and decorating, so the vibes here have just been extra cozy, extra fun. Look how much progress we have made. I'm actually so proud of myself for this, guys. Putting together this book nook, the pieces are so small. Everything that goes into it, it's just so tedious. I literally had to put wires in. That's what you see hanging. Absolutely crazy. But we made a lot of progress tonight. As for The Perfect Couple though, we made it to track 17. And then after I was done listening to it for the night, Chris and I actually sat down and watched the first 2 episodes of the Netflix series. so crazy to see what I'm reading like on the screen visually. I do have to say the way that they're making the show with all the different time jumps, the flashbacks, the different point of views, I think it's really, really interesting. We're more than halfway through the book, but in the show, I could only watch episodes 1 and 2. I didn't go on to episode 3 just because I didn't want anything to get spoiled for me, but the first 2 episodes were really, really good. As for the book, it's just getting crazier. There is just so many scandals happening within this small group of people. It's honestly insane. Everything that kind of happens with Merritt in the first part that we read, I was like, wow, that's really crazy, very scandalous. I had so many different ideas on who did the murder and why they did it, but I feel like after reading these next few chapters today, I am more lost than ever. I quite literally don't know who did it. I feel like there are so many suspects. I feel like everybody kind of has a finger pointing at them because everyone kind of had their own motive. Even if it wasn't directly linked to Merritt, it was somehow linked to them, and I thought that was really interesting. I feel like we learn a lot about Celeste in this next chunk of the book as well. I feel like Celeste isn't all that innocent in my opinion. I feel like she's a little bit of a troublemaker herself, which is really interesting. And when I started watching the show, they actually changed her name to Amelia, which totally confused me at first. I was like, wait a second, I'm pretty sure her name is Celeste. But I guess in the show, they changed her name to Amelia because Nicole Kidman plays Greer in the television show, and in a different show, her name is Celeste, and I guess they just didn't want to confuse viewers on her characters. So in the show, Celeste is Amelia. I thought it was really interesting to see the actress in the show and how she was portraying Celeste, and the way that Celeste is kind of portrayed in the TV show wasn't how I was visualizing her while reading the book, so I thought that was really interesting. I feel like that's always the hard part when it comes to book adaptations, because when you're reading a book, you're visualizing these characters in your own way, and then when you see them in a movie or a TV show, they're obviously being pictured different, and it's always so interesting to me, and I can't tell if I like the way that all the characters are kind of being portrayed in the show so far. I have to say Nicole Kidman as Greer is amazing. I love the casting for her. I also really, really love the casting for Tad. I feel like both of those characters are absolutely perfect. But yeah, we are a little bit more than halfway through the book. A lot of crazy stuff is happening. Again, I have no idea who did the murder. Everyone kind of has their own motives. Something I'm really liking in the TV show though compared to the book is you're kind of getting a little bit of humor in the show, and I'm really, really enjoying that because I don't always pick up on humor in books. I like that little touch that they put in the TV show. Aside from the storyline, aside from the characters, I'm genuinely enjoying this, which I'm very surprised about because I never read mystery books, I never read thrillers or horror books, so I'm actually really happy with how it's going. I'm really into it. I feel like I'm very invested in these characters, in the storyline, invested in this murder mystery because I am putting a lot of thought into it, and it's driving me crazy. We're only on day 2 and I feel like a lot has happened, so I think for the rest of the night I'm just gonna relax and play some video games, kind of take a breather from the murder mystery, and we'll revisit it tomorrow. I finally finished The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hildebrand. We finished it up this morning, and then Chris and I also finished watching the show. Well, I definitely recommend reading the book. If you don't feel like reading the book and you're intrigued by the show, I could not recommend it enough. I think the way they did the show and told the story was so cool. Between all the different character stories and the time jumps, I just think they did such a crazy good job. The one thing I will say is the ending of the show I was a little bit disappointed in, just because I kind of was expecting something a little bit more epic. I feel like the ending of it happened so fast. We finished listening to the audiobook for it, and I honestly am in so much shock at how much I enjoyed this book. You guys already know because I've said it a gazillion times. Mystery books, thriller books, it's a genre that I tend to stay away from. Not that I don't like the genre, but it's just something I'm not really used to, I guess you could say. Those are genres I definitely stay away from, and The Perfect Couple blew my mind. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time listening. I was like, who killed the maid of honor? Why did they kill the maid of honor? And as you go through the story, you're kind of getting everyone's point of view on what happened the night before. What was really interesting about it though was the way that Ellen Hildebrand wrote every character and every character's point of view. She really made you believe that they were the one that did the murder, and so by the end of it, you're kind of like, who did the murder? I feel like I was pointing fingers at everyone. Even at one point, I literally thought that multiple people were like in cahoots and did it together. Everyone just kind of had their own motive, or it seemed like they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. No matter what it was, something was tying every single character to the maid of honor, to their murder, and I just really enjoyed the whole story overall. I liked that it was more so mystery. It wasn't really a thriller. It wasn't too scary or spooky. I will say, while I really did enjoy the show, I definitely prefer the book more, just because obviously you get more in the book, and I feel like they did make slight changes in the TV show. I'm landing on a 4-star rating for The Perfect Couple. It was so good. I also feel like it taking place in Nantucket, having the beachy summery vibes was super fun. I can totally see the hype around that author and why people love her writing, because her writing style also was just so easy to keep up with. And I think something that I've always struggled with, especially when it comes to mystery books, is sometimes the writing is too complex in mystery books and it confuses the heck out of me. I feel like with this book specifically, I was just able to really keep up with it, keep up with the characters, what each character was doing, and I kind of felt like that meme of Charlie Day with all the red strings when he's trying to figure out who did what. That was literally me the entire time, and honestly, listening to the audiobook made it so much more fun in my opinion. We're gonna jump in to our next read, which is The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. I hear it's a really good story, it's a really good thriller, but it is considered a YA book, so it makes me feel a little bit better because I know I won't get as spooked out knowing that it's YA. Something I just found out about this though is that it takes place in upstate New York, which I feel like is just gonna freak me out a little bit more, but we're gonna have fun with it. Riley Sager said it's a little bit Riverdale and a little bit Veronica Mars. It's almost like a series of unfortunate events that happen in the small town of Sunnybrook, and 5 cheerleaders end up dead, which is terrifying and crazy, and I'm intrigued. I want to know what happened to them. I feel like this is gonna be super interesting, and our main character is Monica. Her sister was the last cheerleader to basically disappear. I think she's trying to figure out what happened, or maybe there's weird things kind of starting to happen again in town. I'm really excited, and I feel like it's because I have such high hopes after The Perfect Couple. I think this is going to be a little bit more on the spookier side, especially because it's more so taking place in a small town in New York instead of taking place during the sunny days on Nantucket. I think we're going to start off by listening to the audiobook, and then we'll kind of jump between that and reading it. we are doing a check-in for The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. I made it to chapter 12, page 177. I'm very intrigued with the whole storyline. Monica basically comes across something that kind of triggers her to start looking into what happened to her sister and the other cheerleaders. The beginning part of the story was a little bit slow. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but there's basically time jumping in this book, and sometimes the way that the author was kind of writing a certain chapter or a certain scene, I would get confused or like kind of tripped up at where we were in the timeline. Aside from that, it's actually a really interesting story. We're kind of watching Monica dig deeper into the investigation. It's honestly kind of reminding me of Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Monica is like Pip in the story. She basically doesn't believe that the person who was accused of the murders is the one who actually committed them. She's kind of doing her own investigation and she's questioning people, looking into stuff. It's honestly really interesting. I am enjoying it so far. She also links up with an anonymous person and they're exchanging text messages back and forth. That is very interesting and very spooky. We don't know who this person is yet, but I kind of have my suspicions who it might be. The book has fingers pointing to one person, but I just feel like it's too easy and I don't think it's this person. What I think is really interesting about this too is that Monica's dad is a police officer and he was very much involved with the cases surrounding the cheerleaders. You find out a lot of things in this book too that just kind of have fingers pointing at different people. It's really interesting. I'm very intrigued with it. I don't feel as captivated by this story as I did with The Perfect Couple, but it is a totally different vibe and story. What's also really cool about this is that we're occasionally jumping back in time and we're getting the point of view of Monica's older sister. I really like those chapters because we're slowly piecing things together. I just know towards the end of the book when we're getting her sister's point of view, it's gonna be absolutely insane. There's just been a few moments in this book where I'm kind of getting lost or confused. I think on Spotify it said I was about 48% through, so we're almost to the halfway mark. I am gonna call it a night though because I am so very tired. We're gonna pick this back up tomorrow though and try and finish it. I finished The Cheerleaders by Kara Thomas. That ending though. What was that ending? That caught me off guard. I quite literally did not see it coming. I don't know if other people who've read this book saw it coming and they were like, oh yeah, I knew. I feel like the ending of the book really caught me off guard. I think I'm gonna be thinking about that for a really long time, to be completely honest. I really liked that. I was super nervous in the beginning of this book because I was into it, but not as into it as I was with the first book we read. So I was a little bit nervous. Things were starting a little bit slow. Also just was totally confused. Just the writing style of this book, I feel like it could have been written in an easier way because there were a lot of points in the story that I did kind of get lost and I was like, wait, who are we talking about again? But aside from that, I actually really enjoyed this book. There's like a lot of things I feel like are just kind of left in the open at the end. There's a lot of things that happen in the book that we don't necessarily revisit or get closure on. Even though they're like minor things, it always bugs me when books kind of start something and don't finish them or give closure to them. I think the betrayal we get in this book, I'm just like, wow. I did not expect that from a YA thriller book. This was a lot of fun. I'm very torn between 3.5 stars and a 4-star rating. I'm kind of leaning towards 3.5. It didn't give me like that oomph that I got from The Perfect Couple, and I really liked The Perfect Couple. I think I'm gonna land on a 3.5 with this one. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storyline. The writing style was a little iffy for me, but it wasn't bad to the point where I'm never gonna pick up another book by her again. I actually have 3 more books by her. One of them is The Champions, which is about the football team. I definitely want to pick that book up in the month of October and kind of continue on this series. I honestly did get like the Riverdale vibes in here. I definitely felt that when I was reading this. Also, now that we finished the book, I have to say I don't think I was too crazy about the beginning of it because the way that it starts out, you're kind of getting the idea that Monica just isn't feeling well, and now being at the end of the book, I'm just kind of like What happened there? Anyways, that brings us to the end of today's reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. Let me know down below what your favorite mystery thrillers are to read during spooky season and the fall time, because I am so new to this genre. But I have to say, reading these 2 books in today's video makes me excited about getting into the genre, and I definitely want to check out some more books. So if you have a favorite mystery thriller, definitely let me know what it is. With all that being said though, I love you guys so very much, and I'll see you in the next one.